live? Perfect.
Yeah.
I'm down with
Hey
that.
everybody, it's Noah with the Zone Podcast. Today I'm with Jordan. Kind of introduce yourself to everybody. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Well, welcome everybody for seeing this ugly mug. Sorry for it. To make a long story short, I'm just a small town kid who grew up on a farm who had some big dreams and accidentally ended up achieving some. So bigger dreams to come. So
Nice.
I'm currently in the process of getting acquired for one of my marketing companies. This would be the third business at this point that I've built and exited. And then on into a beautiful little secret that maybe we can dive into later.
All right, cool. I like that. Before we were actually getting on, we were talking about work-life balance and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of entrepreneurs say, from the time you're 18 to 25, you need to work nonstop. There is no stop at all. But then there's others that are like, you need time for serendipitous thoughts. Like you need to take your walks. You need to have like those moments where it's just those free moments where ideas come to you. And I've definitely had some of those moments. So how do you kind of set up your life so that you can have those moments, or is that something you even agree with?
Oh, absolutely. You have to have those moments. If you don't, you'll die.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is your creativity will die. Your whole focus and your productivity will crank.
Mm-hmm.
So from the people who, surprisingly enough to myself, which I'll get into the story in a little bit, but the people who I consult with or who call me for advice, which blows me away because they're way more financially successful than I am. I mean, I don't have a B in my net worth. But when I ask them about work-life balance, and they always tell me that they're like, dude, I still could have gotten here if I just would have slowed down a bit. And I was like, but I don't want to slow down. I want to keep going. I want to go as fast as I can. And they're like, no, you need those pauses. He goes, for example, one of them, and he just exited his company like 2 years ago for like 1.5 billion dollars. And he's like, dude, I could have gotten here, but I could have enjoyed along the way. He goes, I ran myself in the dirt. And he looked at me and he looked at me and laughed. And he goes, you have bags in your eyes and you're 25. Relax. And then I was like, okay. So how all of this kind of started for me was eventually, I know that the mental is way more important. I think people say it's 80% psychology, 20% mechanics, 80% like mentality, 20% do. I think it's a little bit higher. I think it's like 90% psychology, 10% mechanics. Because if you can think better, work smarter, you can get it there a lot easier. So what I mean specifically is taking those times to yourself is by far the most important, because good people can have bad days, right?
Right.
Like if a good person, right, for example, you probably have wonderful people in your life who are very emotionally mature, very stepped, right? But they've probably blown up before. And you're like, what the fuck? Like, why are they so mean to me? Right? So our mentality, especially as an entrepreneur or business owner, whether you're a solo entrepreneur or you're someone who runs a Inc. 500 company, like it doesn't matter. The psychology of the leader is the total cap of the business. Like that's why there's sometimes multiple CEOs or multiple C-level execs to get to raise that kind of ceiling. So that time is way more important. I've not been a big fan of like meditation and stuff. But yeah, there's a cool little tool that I use every single morning. Doesn't matter if it's a good day or a bad day, a busy day, I always give myself like 10 to 15 minutes because normally it only takes about 5, but I tell myself that. And it's not like positive thinking at all. Like it's not where, you go, well, I'm happy and I'm good and I got to take a deep breath and be all right. And that never works out because we all feel like we're lying to ourselves anyway. So, because I mean, if you're super stressed and you just tell yourself, well, I'm not stressed, I'm all good. And you keep on telling yourself that, but you feel that stress. It's like, what are you going to tell yourself? And you're like, well, either I'm a liar or this isn't going to work for me. Right?
Yeah.
So the times where I've failed dramatically have been the times where I went, the mindset doesn't fucking matter. I just need to work. That's all I have to do. I just have to work. Make a lot of money quickly, like a ton of money quickly. but then eventually you'll end up losing it. And that's not like a self-limited belief I'm throwing to your audience and to everybody listening. Like, if you're listening, if you think that work is the most important aspect, it's like, yes, but no. It's like you have to sharpen your tool. And
Right.
the way you can do that to become smarter and easier, the best way I can explain it is, people think that that little part doesn't matter, but little things matter. Try walking all day with a pebble in your shoe. You're going to notice it. That's just going to hurt eventually, create blisters and hurt when you walk. You want to take that pebble out. Every single day you're on calls. Every single day I'm on calls. Every single day everybody who's listening is on calls. They're working. They're going. They're getting backlash in some type of way, some type of pressure, right? Because that's what creates diamonds. It's not being made by getting rain through feathers. No successful business owner, do I know, got it easy. But the cool thing is, at the end of the day, or the beginning of every day, you can take that pebble out. And here's what I do. Should I share it with everybody? You think?
Yeah, for sure.
So basically, for example, right now, how about we just do it live? Do you want to do it live? Like, I'll do the exercise with you.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with it. Yeah.
So you don't have to give me the context, but think about something that when you think about it, it kind of stresses you out. And you're like, ugh, like you get that like tightness, or you feel something.
Okay, I got it. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
You don't have to tell me the context or anything. On a scale of 1 to 10, where's it at? I like
it's
stress.
Probably a 6 or 7. I'm getting into dancing, and like trying to spin a girl or something like that is just like, it's like, dang, I'm stressed out about that a little bit because I'm just focused on other things. But that's getting those moves right. You know what I mean? Just a little bit of a 5.
Got it. See, that's what most people do. Most people say, well, it's stress, but really what it's a feeling of like, oh, can I do it?
Yeah.
Right. So it's almost a feeling of confidence rather than I'm stressed. Right. So we mislabel things all the time. So if we kind of notice what it is, it's like, well, if you felt more confident, like if I said, here's 10 grand, ride a bike around the block, you're like, easy 10 grand. You're going to do that all day long. Right.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But now if I say, here's 50 grand, here's a unicycle. Right. What are you going to do? You're going to go, I'm going to attempt, don't get me wrong, but I don't know if I believe that I can. Right. So question, have you ever done something in dance that you've maybe gotten into that you have felt, for example, people try to think that they have to have done that thing multiple times, which that builds competency and deep confidence. But the cool thing is there's thousands of studies that have been done with Olympic athletes that if they vividly imagine or succeed in that area, or they see themselves succeeding, then their neurology tends to fire off these little micro firings where their muscles will actually tense up, their blood and their heart starts beating at a completely different pace. So something's happening. It's your bodies can't determine and our minds can't determine versus something that has happened versus something that we vividly imagine. And we've probably all heard that before, but maybe not really totally understand it. So on a scale of 1 to 10, I guess, would you really call it stress, or would you say it's like nervous? Is it like kind of you're nervous to do it? Or is it like you think it's actually stress?
It's more like a nervous thing. Yeah.
Okay. If you felt confident with it, do you think that nervousness would mitigate? Like it would kind of go down?
Yeah, it'd be gone. Yeah.
Okay. Sure. Got it. On a scale of 1 to 10, where's it at? Like of nervousness.
Where it would be down?
No. On where it's at currently.
Currently, like I said, it was like a 5. It's not.
Okay. Probably like a 5. Okay. So do this. Do you have a time of something like where you felt really confident before? It could be anything. You don't have to explain it. Just do you have a time?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So do something really cool. Think about that time real quick. And I want you to like close your eyes. I want you to picture it big and bright in your head. Can you do it for me? So if you close your eyes, picture this thing that you were super confident with. You see it through your own eyes as if you were there. You hear the moment and you feel the moment right now. And you feel that getting larger and bigger and bigger. Okay? Now open your eyes. Okay? You can come back, open your eyes.
Oh, shoot.
So now what I want you to do is take your non-dominant hand. Okay, I don't know what hand? Is it your
Yeah,
left,
left.
right, whatever?
Yeah.
Your left. So take your pointer finger and your thumb, this little mushy part of your thumb. And I want you to think of, before you do that, take your nail or something and put it here. Don't do it yet. Not yet.
Okay.
You're a good overachiever because you want to immediately do it.
Yeah.
So when I say now and I snap my fingers, I want you to put that into your thumb, right?
Okay.
And I want you to have that feeling of confidence kind of double and swirl through you. Like you can kind of feel it build. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Like if you were to give that feeling of confidence a color, what color would it be?
Probably red.
Red? Okay.
Yeah.
Does it start? Where does it start in your body? Your chest, stomach, head?
Probably like right in the middle part between your stomach. I guess your sternum. That's
Kind of
why.
sternum, like right here.
Yeah. Right.
And then where does it go? Does it go up, down?
I would say up. Yeah.
Goes up?
Mhm.
Okay, got it. So do it again. And then when I say see what you saw, hear what you felt, and feel what you felt then, and then now I'll snap. Click that, and I want you to feel that kind of get bigger and brighter inside of you, like that color. Okay?
Mhm.
Cool with you? Cool. So close your eyes. I want you to think of another time, kind of stack that moment on itself. Bring in another moment where you felt really confident. I want you to take that image and make it larger than life, where you see what you saw, right? And as if you were there, you're seeing the colors get bigger and more vibrant. You can hear what was happening around you, and you feel that feeling start to swirl through you faster and faster and faster and faster. See what you saw, hear what you heard, and feel what you felt then, now. Click, feel that feeling right there, and then release it.
All right.
Okay?
Cool.
And then kind of shake your body out. I know it sounds silly and goofy, but now think about you. What I want you to do is I want you to click this. I want you to hold that down, and I want you to think about you spinning the girl.
Kind of relieves a little bit of the stress with you, like pushing that. Is there like a pressure point here or something?
No.
Or is it like a just a focus?
No. So if you if you release it now, and you think about where you feel about on a scale of 1 to 10, how nervous you might feel or something with the girl. How do you feel now?
Probably a little bit less nervous, like just
On a scale of 1 to 10. You said 5 earlier. Where would it be now?
Probably like about a 4 or 3.
About a 4. That's a pretty good improvement.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and that's just with one little technique, right? So, how can something where people say they don't have control over change that quick, right? Is because we can associate a feeling of something we felt in a totally different atmosphere before, confidence and etc., and attach it to something that we're currently learning. Because if our confidence can be applied to something that we're learning, that our competence can actually increase pretty quickly. Because if you're, I don't know if I can do this, maybe not, I don't know. I don't know about that. Then we start to kind of get in this state of like, maybe I'm not good enough. I can't do this fast enough. I don't know. So, for example, in business, things that I do is I think about all the little things that maybe were those little pebbles. So I think about the day that was stressful for me, and I see it in my head. And what I do is I shrink it really small in my head, and I play the movie in reverse in black and white. And I'll add a clown nose on everybody. I'll add carnival music, and I'll reverse it where people eat their own words. They walk backwards, talk backwards, and they blah, 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 right? I know it sounds silly, but what that same protocol is what's used to help people with PTSD. And I know that work isn't PTSD. It's not post-traumatic stress, but it's some type of stress. You do that, you're starting the day without any baggage behind us. We're not starting the day with anything that's kind of in our way or kind of weighing on our minds. I've watched entrepreneurs over the years just like decrease. They start with all this energy and then they end with nothing.
Almost like a shell of their old self.
Absolutely. Which we've all been there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the work-life balance is I give myself 5-10 minutes, and I'm happy to give everybody who's listening. I'll have Nadia or one of my assistants or something send you a link where they can go through their own exercise for that for free.
I really appreciate that. Yeah.
Oh, dude, it's a lifesaver.
Mhm.
I have people who are in their 50s and 70s and 80s. Oldest one was in her 80s. Um, they were like, I use this every morning. Like, this is incredible. It's like, imagine if you were to take like a shot of like an NZT pill from like Limitless, or like someone explained it where it's like a mental massage where your whole like body becomes like fully invigorated with like these little million bits of like the best versions of themselves running around with a ton of energy, where they have like childlike energy again, which is awesome. Um, but yeah, so that's kind of like my little tool there. So
Okay. So like even with some of those tools coming in, also I've also noticed like walks by yourself. I don't know, talking to yourself, like really talking to your true self, stuff like that
sure.
over a walk, or even relationships. What are kind of your thoughts on those relationships, kind of relating to the work life balance?
Mhm.
Um, how do you make sure somebody's investing that time is where it should be invested? Like, where do you really see that?
Ah, as in like personal relationships, as in like romantic
Yeah,
relationships.
yeah,
Sure.
like if somebody's like, hey, he's always on the phone, stuff like that, like he's in that certain spot, and like I feel like I don't know you anymore, stuff like that.
Mm,
Where you're like in that spot, like how are you? Is that something you keep around, or is that something that's like, well, this is me now? You know what I mean?
mm, I'd be very wary. Like, so where I've gone wrong before is I said, well, this is who I am currently.
Right.
Um, that's not true. It's like we are multiple facets of multiple things all at the same time. So
Hmm.
we pick and choose at what stage in life that we're at. So it's which one's more important? Like,
Hmm.
do you want to be the majority of the time it's people walk in their own way, like they get in their own way, they don't believe that they can have a relationship and have a successful business at the same time, because that's what the world has told us. But I'll tell you, behind the curtains, behind some of the most successful people in the world, that's not how that works. It's like they can actually have that balance, and they found that balance. It tends to be an integration, not a separation.
Hmm.
So rather than them completely excluded and like, hey, I have to work, it's here's how I work. How can I help? Right? A simple question tends to be this. If a woman, for example, if now I don't know about everyone, but in all of the relationships I've been in, and this is why before we got on here and you said, well, what about that? And I said, I don't know if I'm the great person to ask about that, because I've burned through so many beautiful relationships because I've chose work. But I
Mhm.
frame it in a really good way. I say, hey, look, if you can keep up, cool. If not, that's fine. But I matured and manured a bit after going through the shit in life. I manured a ton. And then I said,
Mhm.
okay, well, maybe instead of them getting better, I have to get better. For things to get better, I have to get better. So I realized that my ability, or my lack of ability at the time, to communicate effectively in that relationship was the thing that actually hurt it. It wasn't the time at all. It literally at all. Because you've probably had a 5-minute conversation with a complete stranger that was more fulfilling than an hour combo with someone who you hate, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So it's like, how can you create that connection in between the people who we do want to spend more time with? It basically just turns out to this. If you ask someone, what must happen in order for you to feel X? Because of what they're really saying to you is like, I don't feel like I know you anymore. It's like, well, of course, we're changing every day. It's like, you're not supposed to know who I was 2 months ago, 3 months ago, 5 months ago. It's a small piece of me. I keep on growing.
Mhm.
Then you say, well, what do you feel like you're missing? What do you feel like you need? Because you can just ask them, what must happen in order to X? That gives you their mental blueprint, their mental blueprint that they have not thought about. And it tends to go, well, I don't know. I don't know. And you go, I know you don't know, but if you did know, what would it be? And they tend to tell you immediately. They go, well, I want to spend more time with you.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, how much time specifically? Well, it doesn't matter. It's just some time. You're always busy. You're always on the phone.
Hmm.
Okay, well, considering I'm always busy and always on the phone, is it really the time, or is it what happens within the time? It's what happens within the time. Okay. what would have to happen within the time in order for you to feel connected or loved or cared for or heard? Well, I just want you to listen to me. They don't know how they feel listened, so you have to understand that. And you go, okay, well, how do you know that I'm listening? You nod your head. You add to it. Okay, so I have to nod my head and nod to it. Okay, got it. And then you just keep on asking, what must happen in order for you to feel loved or connected or like you're growing or like this is going well? They will lay out the exact blueprint. Just do the exact blueprint and watch what happens. It's that simple. And then you can figure out if your guys' values even match. So if your guys' values don't match, then it's a waste of time.
That sounds a lot like sales. That sounds like, and it's like, that's why they say it's so important. It's like sales will help you in every single facet of life. And I want to create this whole podcast just to know my tribe more, because those are the type of people who are such effective communicators. When you go into a social setting or when you have these relationships, closers ask hard questions. So if you're able to ask those hard questions and work through those frameworks like you just put out, then you're going to have a healthier relationship, and in turn you're going to have a happier, more wealthy life, because wealth isn't only just riches, it's also relationships, it's body, mind, spirit. So if you're able to be wealthy in all those facets, then I feel like sales is the way to get there.
Absolutely. I totally agree. What changed my life was after I sold my first business, and I was 17. That's a story for another time. But I wanted to take on a challenge. So a friend of mine read a book called Take the Stairs by Rory Vaden. And I got to meet Rory. And cool thing was, in the book, it said, you can do this thing that is the hardest thing that a young person can ever do. Well, that piqued my interest. I was like, well, I'll sign up for this interview. Cool. And what happened was, a friend of mine was going through the interview process. He ended up not going. I did. And I got accepted after the tens and tens of thousands of college kids. I was not a college kid at the time, or ever. And then they said, okay, you're in. I'm like, okay. So they shipped me down to Tennessee, learned all the theoretical knowledge I could about sales in a week. And then they shipped me off to a completely different state that I've never been before, opened the doors, said, go. I'm like, what? They're like, go find a place to live. We're like, what do you mean? Go find a place to live. What do you mean? We have no money. None of this. What do you mean? And they said, use the sales skills, go up to the door, ask a stranger to live with them for a summer. That's what you're asking us to do. Yeah. Okay. So we did. So we went up, we knocked on the door and said, hey, I'm super, look, we're just a bunch of college kids. We're, here for a summer internship. Do you know anybody who would house some of us? Well, I don't know anybody, but we might, is what it tended to turn out. And we just found different ways, going to a church or going to an organization and being able to speak in front of a handful, so one-to-one, one-to-many. And, and we got a whole team of 30 plus people into homes for the whole summer. So that was one of the summers that changed the course of my life. And it wasn't just because of the sales. It's because of what I learned. And I almost didn't even like the sales aspect. Even though beforehand I love sales. I was obsessed with it. But what I learned there was the little technique that I showed you that there, I was able to see, I saw 3,800 people face to face in a very short amount of time. About 3,700 people-ish said no to the sales. And I didn't give a fuck, because about 3 weeks in, I was productively procrastinating, as most of us entrepreneurs do. Oh, well, I'll get to the work. I got to listen to this book, or I got to get to the work or watch this podcast, or, that we tell ourselves to do something before we actually do something. Productive procrastination. So I was doing that, and I was sitting underneath of a tree, and I found this little sales thing, because it was bombing, like every door. Just no. You're nice, but no, like nothing. I was like, maybe I'm missing something. So went through my script. I was like, so I went on the internet and I found this little phrase on this website that I've never seen before. I went, I'll try that. And it said something like, buy now, you realize XYZ benefit, whatever. It's like, okay, went to the next door with my newfound confidence, knocked on the door. No. Okay, sprinted to the next door. Said it. I said, bye now. You realize blah, blah, blah. And then, yes. What? Okay. Awesome. Went to the next door. Yes. Went to the next door. No. I was like, oh, okay. Went to the next door. Yes, 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 yes. And I was like, what was that tool? What was that technique? Because it came from the brokerage world of partnering clients who needed help with, highly successful coaches and entrepreneurs and, consultants and therapists and all these people. And I was like, well, I haven't been there, so I don't know. I found this little website, learned all these patterns, like hundreds of patterns of all this. And I reached out to that old list. And I said, is this what you've been using? They're like, you found our secret. I said, don't share it with anybody. I went, that's weird. You get paid millions and millions and millions of dollars by companies. And this is what you use? They're like, yeah, but shh. I went, got it. So they're like, practice. I said, all right. So at the door in the pitch, it's like, I promise to leave you better than I found you. Tell some corny joke, like, what do you call a deer with no eyes? Oh, I got no idea. But it says something silly like that. I was like, I would sit down and ask them, is there anything that if you didn't experience or could get over that would improve your life almost instantaneously? There wasn't one person that said no. There wasn't one person that was like, no. Well, we did, but it was just rebuttal, right? No, I'm good. It's like, I know you're a big guy in a leather jacket who's about to get on his Harley, but you're never going to see me again. You could literally tell me whatever the hell you would want. You'll never see me again. It doesn't matter. Okay. And moms and pops and big brawly men and, scary outfits where I'm like, oh God, ended up having incredible breakthroughs doing stuff like that. But having that work-life balance is one of the most important. Having the mental is one of the most important. It's like, that's why I get calls from the people who I would never imagine to be working with of, hey, I need help here. And, all the other things that are fun.
Awesome. Well, I'll go ahead and switch gears a little bit, and I'll move into an area of conversation about building a team. I think it kind of leads into that as well, just because
Sure.
your team has to have that work-life balance as well, and be on point. And being a leader, I feel like you need to kind of shed that light on them. How do you build a very strong team?
By saying no more often than you say yes. Building the key concept. I've never shared this publicly, like literally ever, like at all. Not in podcasts, not even in like private masterminds, but this is like, I've never shared this publicly. So, how you build an effective team, a very, very powerful team, is if you've ever heard the phrase, you can't like build a salesperson, you can't like create one like they're born and then you train them and then they're great, right? Because it's a combination of like basically ego that they have, kind of like the, well, I'm better, and then plus warmth. Because if someone just gets on the phone and says, hey, buy this thing, no, well, effing why? They need some warmth to them. They need to have some charisma. But you can build that. The most important aspect of any part of the team, any person who ever has worked with my company, it's over 60 employees plus, like everybody started in sales. It doesn't matter if they're in accounting, doesn't matter if they're an assistant, they all started in sales. Like, doesn't matter if they're a C-level exec, they all started there. And the reason why is because they needed to build one single quality, which was resourcefulness. If they don't have resourcefulness, I put every bit of my team through challenges and tests nonstop, kind of like a constant stress test that they're not knowing that they're being tested. The point of that is it starts to build character. You're starting to build their identity in the way that they want, not what you want, but what they want. So when you're doing an interview and you're recruiting someone, which the number one point is, how are you recruiting to attract a certain type of person, which is kind of a marketing aspect. Number two is, what are you doing in those interviews that are causing you to allow you as the leader to see if they even fit? Right? What are their actual deep values? A ton of entrepreneurs don't do enough time of that. They go, you can do that job? Awesome. Well, it's minimum wage. Good luck. Bye. And they're just kind of, they don't give the direction. It's like, how can you hit the target if the target isn't told to you and it's in the dark and you're blindfolded? So number one, a team is only as motivated as you are. So that trickles down. they're also going to take a lead of the leader. So meaning when you're attracting them, are you posting about Lamborghinis and fancy watches and stuff like that? Are you attracting that type of person? Because you're probably going to get 15-year-olds, and then you're going to get people who are in their 20s who haven't matured yet, right? And you're going to get the people who are a little bit more money focused than service focused, and that's not really going to tend to work. So, but when you're in that interview, you can do something called a values audit. And when you do a values audit, you can find their values instantly. You don't have to wait. I did an interview at a prison with a guy who was completely, terrible story. He murdered his family and his kids and like his neighbor. He was a sociopath and he snapped. And he had just such a deep understanding of human psychology that it was kind of mind blowing. It was learned a lot. Kind of scary. Of the feeling being there was just very, whoa, like what are you type of feeling. But he said people's masks crack when people get relaxed. So if you can get better at communication as a leader and make that other person on the other side feel totally relaxed, they'll kind of open up regardless. They'll tell you things that they probably shouldn't tell you that they haven't told anybody else. You've probably gotten that on a sales call if you've done rapport right.
Yep.
But you can ask certain questions like, what's something that you want? It can be anything. Oh, I want this car. Well, what does that car allow you to do? Well, it allows me to get from point A to point B. Well, you don't need a Porsche 911 to do that. So what does that give you? Well, it gives me, I don't know. I know you don't know, but how does it make you feel? Like I've achieved something. Okay. So once you get the car, you feel achieved. What does that mean to you? It means that I'm free. Freedom. That's a value, right? So you start to write that down. Then you ask them, in what order, if you could only have one or the other, which one did you pick? And you allow yourself to kind of bracket, gamify it. Then you know exactly how they will behave and perform. Grab their top 3 values, you look at it, and you can have them basically make any decision ever. Hey, by you helping me out with this program, does that allow you to be more free? Sort of. Does it allow you to feel successful? Does it allow you to spend more time with your family? Well, if it goes well, yeah. Well, if you don't help, it's not going to go well. Could you help? Oh, yeah. So then, boom, you can help them make a decision. As a leader, you're always helping your employees make decisions. But how you have to do it is the leader themselves of the business has to do their own value audit of themselves and then have only people who have those values. It doesn't have to be the same value. It doesn't have to be the same order, but the same values, and only acquire those people in your business. That's it. That's the only people you do. And the number one key thing that you have to have is that resourcefulness. They have to be resourceful enough, because how many times as a leader, someone came to you and said, I don't know how to do this, and you're stressed out of your mind. You haven't done that little balance thing that you should. And you go, I don't know. I don't fucking know. Just Google it. Right? Hang up. Well, that makes them feel like, well, I'm in the dark. I don't know where the target is. How am I going to hit the target? Right? And they're like, well, that's stupid. So, because we only know that because we've all been there. So in that moment, what do? Well, you have to go, okay, I don't know how to do this. If you don't know how to do it, it's not that you have to know everything, because that's the point of having a team. You have to ask them for help. Say, look, I have no idea how to do it. I'm willing to learn. Does anybody else know? And then ask them, say, I don't know how to do this. So I have a general idea. Can you do some research for me instead? That starts to build a community, but also letting them know that they matter is one of the biggest powerful points of building a team. So I had over 200 sales reps at one point, and then it grew to 300, and then it was almost to 400. And it was crazy. Like articles called it a cult, and because it kind of was. But I taught them a ton of, these tools, and some of them used it for terrible, terrible things, which allowed me to have to send back hundreds of thousands of dollars in refunds, because I'm like, you're selling to people who shouldn't be sold to. They eliminated and terminated immediately.
Yeah.
It taught me a lesson of, I need to find out their values. I need to figure that out before I ever let anything of that happen. Their mask needs to come off before I say yes. So I give everybody like a 4-week, 6-week-ish like probationary period. And I tell them, like, here's what you have. I'll put them through these little stress tests of how can you be more resourceful. So 80% fall off, but the people who do, like, they're more valuable than what it costs to acquire that employee at all. Like, your cost to acquire an employee might go up $900, $1,000 maybe, depending on how you're doing it. But it's damn well worth it because then they stay forever. I've made a shit ton. I've lost it all. And I've had that conversation with the team where I said, look, I'm sorry. We have nothing. We're a negative couple $100,000 at the moment. We have nothing else coming in. I can't do advertising. I can't do this. I'm about to go to the bank right now. That's where I'm going to see if I can't get a loan to give you guys a severance package because I failed and I'm sorry. And I said, I'm not going to hate any of you if you guys leave. It's okay. And I was expecting everybody to be like, oh yeah, why the fuck would I do that? Like, why are we staying? Not one person budged. Like, Noah, not one person budged.
Dang.
Like, not one. Like, I was expecting someone to stand up and be like, yeah, I'm not going to fucking deal with that. Not one person budged. And because it gave every single employee the time, the attention, and the effort, and helped them through their own stuff, not in just business, but private, that's where the power is, by the way. You don't have to be their friend, but you do have to be their coach, their leader. You do have to show them a better way every single time. Like, when you're a leader in a business, you are not just dealing with the customer. You're also dealing with your extended family, which is your team. If you treat them that way, and you have kind of not a woo-woo-y sense, but kind of like an unconditional love, like, I will do anything that I possibly can for you. They feel that, because at the time where I said, fuck this, I give up, like, I can't do it. One person stood up and reminded me of why I started, why all of the relationships of the past that I've ruined and dismantled, and why I basically gave up my childhood to start a business. Another person stood up and said, you don't understand. I was on the verge of killing myself before I started here. I started here just to satisfy my spouse. 3 days in, you said, hey, is everything okay? You seem a little off. Can I help? And we talked. Because I didn't tell you, but I was planning that night to go home and kill myself. The leader in a business is way more important than you ever expect. Ever expect. So it's our duty and it's our job to constantly improve ourselves, so then we can also help improve them. Because in that moment, without them standing up, you and I probably wouldn't be talking. I wouldn't be getting acquired again. Like that, it wouldn't be there. Because if you pour into them, they pour right back into you, but tenfold. So I hope that helps.
That was awesome. I've noticed throughout this whole conversation that the actions that you take are not only just the actions that you take, or like even like little tools, little things that you were talking about.
Sure.
It's more of like intention. Like like you put a lot of intention into everything, or time, or that it's not even just time. It's like it's like presence in whatever you do. Like there's a large bit of presence there. Even with the employee situation, like when I run my team, it's like I'm gonna use what you just said, like, and get to know them a little bit more, because I have people who just DM on Facebook and they go reach out for me. And I'm like, those people are on my team, they're just DMing. I don't really have to put that much energy into them, because, they're not cold calling. They're not doing something super hard. Like, this is a pretty basic offer. I have them send it out, and then, they make a percent of the commission. And it's kind of like, it's an easy job. And then that's what I'm thinking. And I talk to my partners, like, it's easy. Like, they made good money off of, like, and it's like, nah, I really, after this conversation, I need to have more like presence with them. I need to call them up and really invest in them. And maybe they become one of my top closers, and I bring them on to new things and I help them grow. And if that's where they want to grow, or if they want to stay as just, hey, I work 5 hours a week and I just DM people on Facebook, that's totally fine too. But they're all people, and they all need to be invested and poured into, especially now that I've heard you say that. It's something I'm going to implement immediately as possible.
How could you scale it faster is the question. You have to ask yourself as a leader way more difficult questions than a closer would ask a client. Because a closer
Right.
asking a client is just clarifying a problem, showing them how they're moving away from pain towards pleasure. They're currently in pain, get them out of pain into pleasure. That's literally the most simple terms of that. And then walking them through the problem. Not difficult questions, right? So I kind of disagree. But ourselves, we have to ask ourselves way more powerful questions. Because as an effective communicator, a salesperson doesn't have to be outwardly an effective communicator. They have to be effectively communicating with whom first? It's ourselves. Because if you ask yourself, if you sit back and said, okay, if there's a gun to my head and I could only work 2 hours a week with my current team, what would I have to change in order for me to be able to work 2 hours a week? If I worked a minute over, I would die. And you'd be like, well, I don't know, maybe I wouldn't change a lot. But then you think about someone who would care about, your brain's going to start to find a fucking answer. Because think about how simple it is from the outside. Have you ever watched a movie before? And of course you have, right? If you you see a conflict happen, you're like, why are they having the conflict? That's so stupid. Like, they don't know each other's story. You're like, it's so dumb. But then you go, that happens with all of your friends. That happens with anybody who's listening, because we can't see the label when you're inside the bottle. Because how easy would it be if you put all the people who are doing all the DMs in a group chat, you did a Zoom training, and you showed them how to use AI or bots to message more people on more platforms? They could reach out not to just 10 people, 20 people, every day private message. What if you showed them how to use like Phantom Buster, or, hey, here's how you use AI in ChatGPT. Here's how you download like Python on your computer, copy, paste. Now you can send 100 messages every 4 hours on every single platform, and it's completely tailored. And if you would like, here's how you do a video script of people who have opted in to reach back out. Right? How much more? How much more people do you think they would get?
They'd a lot more. Yeah, they'd be happier too, because they'd be winning. Everybody wants to win. So
absolutely. Because
and I'm even thinking about that follow-up thing that you just said. I'm like, well, I take care of follow-up. Well, I'm the guy who's hopping on the video call, so I take care of follow-up.
Why?
But yeah. Yep.
Why? People don't give a shit. Like, as long as they're getting served and they're feeling good throughout the whole process, doesn't matter. And it doesn't even have to be you. Right? If they know, like, you and I met the other day, and I was like, I don't have enough time. Love you, buddy. I don't have enough time. Reach out to my assistant. Let's book it.
Yeah.
It's like number one, it's like, actually be that. Don't like pretend like you're busy, but like, you have to be that and create a life where it's like, where time is going, because then you're going to just think in a slightly better way. Because if people are doing manual stuff that a bot can do faster, better, easier, then why a sort of a limit? Because the first thought of an entrepreneur is, well, then I don't need the team. I don't need to give them commission. It's like, no. Give them the tools. Yeah. You immediately thought about it. But think about it. That's only you doing that. And you're like, well, damn, I can make a lot of money just on my own. Then do it on your own. Show the team first and say, look, this is what I did in order to book 100 meetings this week. Here's how you do it. So then you teach them the exact secrets of the business. Because then guess what happens? When they leave the business, they call you for advice. That's when you know you've done a good damn job as a leader or a manager or a boss. So when they're like, hey, should I take this deal? No, I think that's stupid. You're worth way more than that. Okay, cool. Like, that's when you know you've done a really good job. So because you have to pour into them, give them the secrets. It's like, teach them how your marketing company works. They're not going to just be like, okay, cool, I'm going to start. You know how many people have said, hey, I'm going to be in competition with you. All right, I'm going to beat you. Good. You know what that you should do? Hire them immediately. It's just like, that's awesome. You hit this milestone, I'll hire you as a sales rep. Okay. If they hit that milestone, awesome. Hire them as a sales rep. See how they do. Because guess what? The same people were like, I'm going to be in your spot. Be like, as soon as you get to where I am, you'll be where I've been. So come on, let's go.
Wow. Wow. That makes a ton of sense. Like that makes a ton of sense. My last question, like since we were on the topic of AI,
Mhm.
how are you utilizing that in your life and in business?
How much time do you have?
I can do 10 more minutes. We can go ahead and
Can I do 10 minutes? Cool. Because I gotta run. That's why I'm all dressed up. I would normally be in just a t-shirt. I have a keynote I have to get going for.
it's all good.
So, how do I condense that in 10 minutes?
Sorry about that. I just really want to, because we were on that topic of conversation.
Let's do it. So, if your audience has never heard of a gentleman named Walter O'Brien, he runs a company called Scorpion Computer Services. I heard this concept years ago from Tim Ferriss, and he was on his podcast, and I was like, that sounds like bullshit. He created AI before AI was ChatGPT and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he talked about how he took this old chess model, like the game chess, made it into a large language model, into a machine learning model. There's a million plus different variables in order to win in chess, right? No matter what pieces move. And it creates scenarios. Sounds very science fiction-y. If you've ever seen the movie or the TV show Scorpion, that's literally his show. Like it's based off of him. Like he hacked NASA when he was like 9 years old, like IQ of 197. So what I took away from that is he said he had like 1,000 people who have genius level IQs. So a part of recruiting, I did the same. I search for people for a genius level IQ, people who have over 140, 150, 160. And I recruited these people and I had to partner them up with something else, which was very, very important. Because someone who has a super high IQ tends to have a very low EQ, tends to have a very low social meter, meaning it's like putting a Ferrari engine inside of a Toyota, right? Ton of power. Socially, you're going to crash. Like idea-wise, you might crash. So you have to kind of partner them up with someone who has a high EQ, stay-at-home moms or nurseries, etc. People who have very high EQ, people who have like preschool teachers and etc. who have a ton of patience. Partner them up. Then these people who have EQs, high EQs, can pull these ideas out, smooth them out into communication, and then lay it out. This has been like, again, never said this publicly. I'm just laying it out there today. That has been my like secret sauce of stopping fires before they even start. Getting clients a really, really, really fast result. Like, we have this problem. We have this thing stuck at a port. We have this thing that we have to get done. Legally, we can't even do this. How do we do this legally? To find out, to call this government official, to get this here, to make sure it's legal, to do this, and get it done in like 4 hours. How do you do that? It's a really hard problem. My little brain can't do that, but my team can. So I decided to, one of them were like super, super advanced with AI. So back in like 2021, he's like, I had this private company that I've been talking to. They made this thing, and they, on maybe a different episode or something, or you and I can talk privately. They basically created Jarvis, like actually, not like the new one, or not like the new one that Microsoft just made, but like they created Jarvis, and I bought it, and crazy as shit. It like runs my whole house. I have it connected to a satellite, and I get in my car. It tells me everything about the car. It tells me like if there's traffic at the corner. Crazy shit. I'll send you a video privately of like me in the car and like me doing test protocols. But how I use it in my business is I think about things like that. How can I duplicate me? Because what you're doing is every employee, no matter where they're at, is you're duplicating yourself. How can you duplicate you in multiple ways and then teach other people how to do the same? So I had to walk through, what do I do every single day, whether that's answering certain questions, doing certain tasks. Even if I do it once a week, and if I do it for an hour, well, then I can save 52 hours in a whole year. 52 hours, I can do a lot in 52 hours, right? That's a lot. That's a lot more time with the relationship. So I'll give you guys a little sneak peek. You can probably automate about 75 to maybe 80% of your business, even the sales aspect. If you're just doing sales calls, even the follow-up. even the recap of the call, even putting it in the stats to send to the rest of the team. All of that can be completely automated with two tools, ChatGPT and with Hugging Face. So ChatGPT, Hugging Face. If you grab Hugging Face, it's like a little API that connects to ChatGPT, uses the power of ChatGPT, and you can automate almost anything. It's like Zapier, but if Zapier was on steroids and superhuman. So you can also connect with Zapier. So all of these automations happen like that, and you didn't do anything. So I'll give it there because we don't have all that much time.
Yeah. That's all good. I appreciate everything. I appreciate you for coming on and giving all of these, like even the advice for me right now. I'm going to start implementing it into my business, and hopefully for everybody watching, they'll be able to implement in their business as well. To everybody out there, this was Jordan. Can they search you up? Is there a way to search you up?
No, I'm a ghost, man. I'm a ghost.
Are we gonna have any links in the description, or are we just gonna?
Yeah, I'll send you
just a PDF.
I'll have Nadia send you over some links. What I'll do is for the people who watch this during or even after, I'll put on some links in there. So I'll end it on this, kind of like I was telling you before. So a few years ago, I got invited out to Flats, California, for a big solar company. It was like, we need help. Help. I'm like, okay. They flew me out like that same day, and was like, we need help here. And we went out, and then I lost my phone that I've had ever since I started almost everything. So it means a lot to me. And I had secrets in there from people who had, B's in their net worth. They're just worth billions of dollars, but they were successful in health, wealth, and relationships. So I'm like, valuable knowledge. That's knowledge you can't pay for. It's invaluable. So I went, okay, all that stuff's in there. I have personal things, everything. It just means a lot. I was like, I had a whole blueprint of if I lost everything, what I would do. I even had my will in there, all of it, because I was traveling so much. I lost it. It's gone. Disappeared forever. Out of my life. I called that company. I called everybody who was there on the team. I was like, if anybody finds it, I'll give them $5,000. Crickets. If you find it, I'll give you $50,000. Crickets. If you find it, I'll give you $70,000. Crickets. And it went all the way up to like $300,000. Still crickets. I'm like, maybe it's actually lost.
Yeah.
Like that sucks. Like maybe it's actually lost, or someone got it, unlocked it, found it, and started just using the tools. But I didn't see anybody take a sudden upswing into fame and fortune. So I was like, maybe nobody found it. But then eventually, about a year and a half later, get a random text. Hey, is this Jordan Carnduff? I was like, they shouldn't be texting this phone. Maybe who's this? They say, call me. Okay, call. They're like, dude, I found your phone. It's like, no, you didn't. You didn't find my phone. I was like, FaceTime me, show me. It's my phone. I was like, send it. Please send it. And they're like, I was like, do you want the reward that I sent out? He goes, no. Better yet, he's like, can you give me some personal time? He's like, I watched how you worked when you were here. I know I can't afford you. He's like, but please give me some of your personal time. And he goes, I just need to ask you like 10 questions. I'm like, perfect. So when I got it back, I got the phone, I went through it, and I was like, what do I need digitally? Like, what do I want digitally? And I wrote out all of these lessons that I've learned, like top 10 lessons I've learned from billionaires. And I'm like, this is invaluable. So I put it in a PDF, and I was like, okay. So I gave it to all my employees. All my employees are like, this is the best thing that I've ever seen. So I'm like, okay. And I've been advised, you should sell it. You should sell it. No, why would I sell it? I didn't pay for it. So you guys get it for free. So I'll give it to your audience so they can have.
I appreciate it. I appreciate that so much. Well, everybody, that'll be in the link in the description. Make sure you click on that and go ahead and save it. But I really appreciate it. Appreciate you coming on. This was awesome. And until next time.
See you, buddy. Bye.